the angle, no time to delay. Markets rise and markets fall. Atomcash is ready to answer the call, while the bulls charge hard and the bears dig deep. The angle will keep you on your feet. Hold on tight, the stage is set. Dig in deep with no regrets. Red and green bars leading the way. Welcome to the angle, no time to delay. Cashing in on the highs and lows, where the wind of fortune constantly blows. No looking back, keep your eyes on the prize. Fuel the run with a fire that never dies. Hold on tight, the stage is set. Dig in deep with no regrets. Red and green bars leading the way. Welcome to the angle, no time to delay.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the most entertaining, intellectually stimulating financial podcast in the entire world. You're watching the Atomcash Angle, the show that flips the switch and floods the system with straight financial voltage. I'm Atomcash, and I'm bringing you the firepower your financial life may have been missing. Now, whether you're new to trading or a trading savant, I am to turn complexity into clarity with a shot of adrenaline. And this week has already been an interesting one. Well, I shouldn't necessarily say that. Yesterday was a pretty calm day. Like we said on yesterday's stream, nothing too much really happening around in the world, really. Now, as we head into today, Wednesday and Thursday, is our chunk, our meat of the matter, where we should see some level of volatility, news headlines, etc. And I will quickly highlight what to keep an eye out for on during this week. As we already alluded to yesterday, but in case you missed yesterday's stream, quick little summary. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Fed speakers today. Then you also have the New York Fed 1-year inflation expectations. Then you also have Trump 4 times today. So you have 10 total random, I like to say, potential news catalysts coming down the pike today between 10 o'clock all the way to close. Oh, and we also have consumer credit at 3 o'clock. So you got a lot coming down the pipe today alone. Then tomorrow we've got a lot of news, and Thursday we got to lose, and then it dies down again on Friday. So I expect the middle of this week to be somewhat more volatile than we've seen recently. I wore the Green Day shirt kind of as a meme. Because the times that I've worn the Green Day shirt on the stream has ironically been a red day for the market. So we'll find out if the meme will hold true. Although the market right now in pre-market has made a new all-time high. We'll see if that substantiates through the open. But really interesting daily candle. Spoke about yesterday how the last two daily candles we saw last Thursday and last Friday essentially made kind of like a doji candle if you squish them together. And yesterday was looking a little bit more bullish. Although we did close lower than we opened, we wicked lower and closed a little, obviously higher than the lows. And we retested that mid-range of that like kind of doji-esque candle between Thursday and Friday. So this is a better look for the bulls, but not out of the woods just yet. Hatchet dropping the year. Good morning, my friend. Hope you guys are doing well. Toby says, sup. Are you feeling any better? A little bit. Ironically, as you say that, I felt like I had the need to cough. No, I'm feeling better. I think my vocal cords just need to recover. So Next stream I'm planning on is going to be Thursday, so taking a day off tomorrow. I'm not really going to talk to anyone probably. And then Thursday we should be full strength once again. So we'll keep up the energy as much as I can without absolutely obliterating my voice, but we'll do as best as we can. I do want to go back and look at a name that we highlighted yesterday on the program before market opens that kind of moved before we even had the opportunity to consider it. That was PayPal. PayPal had a really nice candle yesterday. Actually had a continuation, broke through the daily SAR and closed at the top of this range here. Basically, you can use this candle from 929, which is basically the top of this localized range here. That was 71.26. We closed 3 pennies higher, as you can see. Now gapping a little higher at 74.53. So I'm watching this very closely because that would gap us above the 200 MA, which is currently at 72.89. Keep in mind you have those two strong downtrends here where I'm anticipating a rejection here, mainly because I don't anticipate it to break both the 200 MA and burst through these this downtrend in 1 or 2 daily candles. I anticipated to actually give that up, come back down, then kind of, back test the high here and see. So basically right now, look for a re-entry at 71.26, 71.29 off of a failed breakout. That would also allow your EMAs, your MAs to catch up a little bit. That might be a good opportunity with a tight stop. So we're going to reevaluate PayPal in a few days, maybe early next week at that point, assuming a few days break out to the upside, come back down, probably next week. This will be setting up pretty solid. Talked about Open, and what an entry for Open. You guys saw me enter Open live on the stream yesterday. I took a chunk of that, and if you missed it, I uploaded it onto the channel. But I took an entry on Open yesterday around, I think it was like 8:20 something. Currently up at 920 or closed at 928, now trading at 930. That 950 area is going to be a big area to watch this week if you are long on Open. Where is my open interest? Here, open interest, haha. Look at this, and we talk about gamma ramping all the time and delta hedging. Look at this 9.5. Look at your call exposure for this week. Look how heavy the chain is from 9.5 all the way to 11. You can even stretch it to 12 versus the put exposure. So the bears give up basically completely at 1050 here, which is ironic because that lines up with our chart and my trigger point at 1075. So Open is actually a really solid contender here for a strong next leg up, especially over my trigger point of 1075, where we push all these short-term calls essentially in the money, forcing some delta hedging, forcing a gamma ramp here in the short term. And that's just for this week's expiration. You look at next week when we're talking about our weekly contracts, and obviously things are a little different. The 10 is a bigger area to watch, which gives more support to my thesis here of that 1075 trigger. But you're going to add in essentially, I mean, look at this, 11. You got 54,000 on the OI on the 10s, 42,000 on the 11s. And it just kind of, it does tamper off, obviously. But you still are holding a good amount on the 12s and a good amount on the 13s. And on the put side, not much. The bears really have some strength on the monthly. So we're talking about next October expiration. Down here around 8.5 to 7, even under 9. So that 9 break yesterday and pushing to the upside was pretty substantial. As you saw in real time, some active delta hedging going on for these $9 calls in the money and de-hedging, I should say, the $9 puts. So you're definitely going to want to keep an eye on Open, especially with this technical setup, especially with this red SAR here, and with the chain support, the options chain support here. It's a really solid setup. I would not sleep on this name. Is very memey, obviously, but with the appropriate risk, I think it's worth the stab, even at its current evaluation. I know it's a little frothy for me to say, but when this thing moves, it moves pretty good. So, and you saw that if we go back in even the 1 minute yesterday, how we moved from, let's see, where's my little doodad? Where is my? I guess I can only do. Oh, there it is. So we moved. In 15 minutes, we moved 11%. Now, obviously, that can go against you, but I'm just saying that's a quick example. And if you want to get even more tight time frame here, 10% move in 5 minutes. So this can move both ways very quickly, but I think the daily chart supports a longer-term move here for Open at its current evaluation. Let's pop over back to the market here. Again, a little bit of a quiet Open. We're hovering around the all-time high at 672.68. Now, me personally, I don't count an all-time high at all if it's pre-market. It has to be during the market hours. I find that more, I want to say valid. So So technically we did make a new all-time high here, but I wouldn't really count it on the daily chart until we break it during the intraday session, so during the actual open session here. The Q's kind of a similar look here in comparison to SPY, and same with IWM. Not really much divergence here that we're seeing here in the pre-market. Basically, everyone's on board so far with volatility ticking to the downside. So we're seeing, although some short-term weakness here in the very near opening bell, in the moments leading up to the opening bell here, volatility is still playing ball, mostly moving to the downside from the pre-market. NVIDIA is north of that 186.21 level that we talked about yesterday, and how important that is. And if we zoom out here, I'll even look at the 5-minute, you can see how important this level is and how every time it shot up, it kind of just rejected underneath it. And I said if it can sustain over this level and show strength over this level, it will rally up to 190. Every single time this tried to get a break yesterday, it was short-lived and came back down, unfortunately. And even in the pre-market here, which right now we're looking a hell of a lot better, but you can even see the fluctuations here of it not getting enough oomph. Even on this big push here in the early morning, still came back down. Now this is looking a little better here. Obviously, we're closer to the open, so the volume is going to start ticking up. So watch this into the open here. I don't know if I'll personally take a trade on this necessarily, but if you get that back test and the volume is good, or we leave a wick there, that could be another opportunity to consider along. However, if this level breaks, it could, with volume, I should say, it could spell, again, another back test down to that 183.30 level, which we basically wicked and rejected off of yesterday, where I got those calls basically almost to the penny, and we went right back up. So a few things to watch here on NVIDIA. I would expect some level of volatility on NVIDIA this morning. Microsoft has been looking pretty good on the daily chart. Great candle yesterday. Will more than likely continue the upside. Apple is still in this like funky zone here. I wouldn't really trust it until we're over this 259.24. Amazon actually put in a decent candle yesterday for the bulls. You're leaving these 3 wicks down here. It's pretty solid. Currently around that 221 area, which is basically my bull bear line. At 221 even is basically telling me if things are bullish, things are bearish. This could be the early signs of getting some level of reversal here on Amazon. Not necessarily yet, but this is the early signs that there could be some sort of reversal building, especially with like arguably consolidating down here and arguably leaving 3 wicks to the downside, showing that bulls are trying to push price action to the upside. And Meta actually surprised me. Like I said, if the bears close beneath the gap, it would more than likely be pretty bearish, and the bulls let it come all the way down. Like they did fail for most of the day and actually closed it higher, and we're actually back into that ER gap. So bulls are not out of the game here. I'd watch that ER gap just either way if you're bullish or bearish on Meta, as that will act as a very big sticking point. Google mostly maintaining the trend down a little bit here in the pre-market, down about 1%, back testing roughly around that 8 EMA. Keep an eye on that. And Tesla, like I said, I'm not really touching this either which way. We are down about 1% in the pre-market here, but still north of that 0.786 retracement. Got everything in before the market opens, which is great. And guys, if you haven't already, do me a quick favor. I ask you twice a stream. I'm going to ask you once right now. Do me a favor and interact with the stream however you like. Whether you say hi in the chat, leave a like on the video wherever you are on Instagram, X, YouTube, Kick, or Twitch. And if you haven't already, drop me a follow. And most importantly, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button over on YouTube. Once we hit 500 subscribers, this will be an everyday show. So if you enjoy the content, you enjoy the show, and you want to see more of it, pop on over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much in advance for your support. Good morning, Negum. Thanks for saying what's up in the chat. Alrighty. Currently opening underneath that all-time high levels. We're going to watch SPY very closely here because it's going to be a very important level to see how we react today, especially considering Thursday and Friday's daily candles and yesterday's close. So a lot of things to consider here on this open. I would especially take this open extra slow this morning. Grab making a little bit of a move here. Watch that 661 on grab. Gapping up on grab. This is basically my trigger point here in 661. I don't think it breaks it today. I would like it to come down again, but I don't always get what I want. But if it comes down on the intraday today and back test like 645, I'd look for a second entry for that 661 crack on grab. And SPY did not make a new all-time high. It actually rejected just underneath the the recent all-time high. Q's moving down so far. IWM rejecting out the gate as well. So like I said, exercise some level of caution on this open. VVIX is down for the most part. Volatility is also down. It trended down to during the pre-market, as I alluded to. Look at that. NVIDIA wicked that key level, this 186.21. I'm not necessarily rushing to buy this though. We saw how it reacted to this level over and over and over again, so you definitely want to take it slow because you could have a fake out breakout either which way. We're watching things very closely here on the open. Other names putting in a good open so far. We talked about Path yesterday. Path currently up about 4%. QUBT, some quantum computing for those of you out there, up about 6%. Got some uranium stocks moving as well. A little bit of movement in crypto. A little bit of movement in your, like, I want to say your digital advertising space. Target at 89, not really a big move, but still holding that general area. Open down just a tad. 915 right now. A little bit of a mixed bag across the board. Little bit of a mixed bag. SPY back at, technically made a new all-time high here, so we'll see if we get a break and a push. I don't like how the Qs and IWM are looking to substantiate and support that push, though. IWM, if it could break over this level, I feel better. Not loving it yet. It's not me being bullish or bearish. It's just, again, risk on versus risk off. Not loving it yet. Nvidia getting a nice push again off of that key area down here. Now, to put things in perspective, that's only about $1 push, though. So this isn't giving me a ton of confidence that this is a sustained rally off of this key level. And remember, if we break under this, then you could drop 3 points pretty quick. So the risk reward here, it's shaky. You don't want to rush this. Q's not looking too strong here out the gate. These are all 1 minute candles, so keep that in mind, guys. I know some people can't handle that, but they give you the most information. Now, if you want to really get cracked out, look, here's the 5-second chart, which actually is not that bad. Depends. If you're trading like 0 DTUs, it's not horrible, but we'll keep it on the 1 minute. Yeah, Nvidia's a little wild this morning. I'd be very careful in the open. Microsoft getting a little bit of a sell here, but nothing too crazy. I mean, we're only down 0.35%. Apple is at its first trigger point here. That 8 EMA squeezing it up. We spoke specifically on Apple yesterday, how it kind of has like a double flat top kind of set up here with a first flat top kind of around this 257.35, but it not getting enough follow through. So you have another like little mini flat top within the flat top at 259.24. So it's not like, this is not one you want to rush into. I personally would wait for that 259.24 break, and then you can grab a long, or maybe even consider a swing position with a tighter stop on Apple, because it is a good setup, but good setups are nothing without follow through. Yeah, caution, caution, caution. If you hear me say be careful, it's for a good reason. Seeing a mixed bag in the Mag 7 actually. Meta down. Amazon's trying to rally above 221. Google gapped down, but is starting to push off of the open here. Tesla, kind of the same story. A little bit push here, a little bit of a gap down, and trying to get some level of a rally here. I don't like this. Where like the market wants to push, but there's not like. We'll see how the next like 2 or 3 candles close out. Maybe use the pre-market high as your trigger here. 673.11. This is a better candle, as I'm saying in real time. This looks better. But if it leaves a wick here, I don't love it. I don't love that at all. I don't love the way the Qs are looking. And I don't like a bullish SPY today sub this 247.18 area on IWM. So we look back to yesterday on IWM's price action. We came down pretty sharp in the open, rallied back up, came back down, fluttered around, right, this 247.18 level. These are 5-minute candles, so we fluttered around that into the close and broke beneath it to close the day. That's not really a good sign that we broke beneath that key area to close the day. Now, pre-market, you sold off, try to get a rally above it again, and now you're kind of fighting it once again. So because of how we closed yesterday and how it broke yesterday, I don't have a ton of faith in IWM today being bullish. That doesn't mean I'm a bear, but I just mean for the day on IWM, it might need to cool, or it might need to kind of pull a very similar price action move to yesterday, where it kind of breaks down to the downside quite a bit before getting some level of a rally, maybe off of one of the 25 news catalysts we have today, like I spoke about earlier in the stream. So I would just be very cautious on this open. I think I've said that 6 times now, and it's been 6 minutes since we've been open. So do with that what you will. The Qs are getting some strength here, which is good to see. And look at SPY not really getting much of that, mainly due to the fact that we're already seeing that divergence here between IWM and the Qs, which can happen sometime. You see your small caps sell off a bit while your tech, right, your NASDAQ companies start to get a little bit of a rally here. Consequently, depending on the volume of both, right, how it evens out, SPY can kind of get muted, right? It doesn't really go up or down. It kind of just flutters, right? And that's a crazy wick for the Qs to leave. That is not good. VIX is... we moved down and we're trying to trot to the upside here. And there's your wick on NVIDIA. 187.07 right now. Yeah, I do not like this open. And it's not even, again, I want to reiterate, it's not that I don't like it because I don't like it as a bull. I don't like it as a bull or a bear. From a risk perspective, there's a lot of mixed signals going on. Especially if you're day trading specifically, you want as clean as you can get, right? And we're mainly focusing on just like the Mag 7 and the indexes because that's what a lot of you have exposure to. So your individual companies, well, we'll get into a few here in a little bit. Obviously, will react a bit differently. But it's important to know which way the wind is blowing, as I like to say. But yeah, 100% very mixed bag kind of open. And on that note, open is trading around $9. Eddie, good morning. Dropping the "yer" in the chat. Man, one of these days I'm gonna have to get like a "yer" t-shirt. It's all thanks to Eddie. He breathed life into the "yer" meme. I need a "yer" soundbite that goes "yer." That would be solid. I'm gonna put that on my notes right now. "Yer" soundbite. I'm gonna get a "yer" soundbite. That's my goal by Thursday. And if I can't find one, I'll make one. The note has been taken. Alrighty. Yeah, I'm even seeing with some of my own personal equity here, which is basically a lot of mix of mid to large cap companies. As I like to say, Christmas tree looking, where a lot of them are red and a lot of them are green. Some by a larger percentage, some by a smaller percentage, but the mix of them, like the chunk of them, are all like plus or minus under 1% either which way. That's another thing that I like to look at. I'll look at my own personal equity because I'll have like a pretty good mix of names that gives me an idea of again how the market's feeling, right? So it's very, 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 very shaky. Eddie says thoughts on OKLO when you get a chance. Sure thing, man. We'll take a peek at OKLO right now. All right, so this is OKLO. Let's zoom out here on the daily. I don't hate it as a momentum trade. So I kind of had a little bit to say about momentum trading the other day, well, yesterday's stream. And I was mentioning how a lot of these companies, as long as they're writing your short-term EMAs, so I've got the 8, the 13, and the 21 here, they tend to hold their rallies, especially if you're trading equity. Now, equity obviously is very different than trading options, so you want to keep that in mind. But for this name in particular, and you can see right here on the daily chart, as long as it's substantiated over the 50 MA, you're pretty solid. If you want to go all the way back to the last time it broke over the 50 MA, what is that? January, February, March, April, May. We broke over the 50 MA right here on May 6th and has rallied ever since. It has come close. It broke below your 21 EMAs a little bit, and it never closed beneath it. Right, it closed above it there. Never, ever, ever closed beneath your 50 MA. So on the daily chart, this looks good to continue a trend higher. Now, if we're going to zoom in a little bit and look for more like a day trade or a short-term trade, I like the ability here to break over this. I believe this is the all-time high, right? Yeah, the all-time high here of 147.18. I would use that as my trigger point. You could use 143.75 to 144.49. That more than likely will act as some level of a supply here, where we left 2 wicks behind on September 23rd and 24th before gapping down, building another base and trying to push again. So there is a bit of a mixed bag here, at least if you're looking for more of a short-term trade. where OKLO could reject up here. However, if it can substantiate a push over 144.49, I would look for that all-time high first and look at the volume very closely. The volume in general, so this is something we want to keep an eye on, has been trading down the last few days. However, again, you're consolidating, so that's not necessarily an awful thing, and you're coming off of a move where you had higher volume. You had a strong push on higher volume. That makes sense that the volume would move back down after that move, especially on a consolidation. So on this push here, so the last basically like 4-day candles here, or the last 4 daily candles, I should say, I'd want to see higher volume, and we're seeing a little bit tick up here, but overall, it's not fantastic. So that's why I'm saying these specific levels here, and I'll put them on the chart, 143.75. And especially if you're momentum trading, so if you're looking for like a short-term trade, these are very simple things to look at. It's not rocket science. 144.49, and then that all-time high. So let's zoom in here and see what that looks like on our 5-minute here. And you look at in the pre-market, and we got just shy of that, I guess lower, or this mid 143 area before rejecting on the open. Good volume here on the open on the 5-minute. It's looking like you might be turning around here. And obviously this name is some level of a meme name. It's got a lot of retail attention, right? And I'm not, again, I said meme as it pertained to open. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just how it trades. It will trade differently than a quote unquote regular stock, like a Target or whatever, right? It's going to trade a little bit more aggressively, both bullish and bearish. With that being said, right now, I personally, I wouldn't short it. Let me be abundantly clear. I wouldn't short it, but I wouldn't long it here until it got over, essentially, that you want to call it a support range. You call it a support range, a demand range here between these two zones, this 143.75 and this 144.49. Over the 144.49, there could be a trigger to push there through to that all-time high at 147.18. But just be cautious, because it's not a lot of meat on the bone there. You only got $2 or $3 there. And if it does reject up there at the all-time high, I would expect a sharper rejection. So it can work out, but for there to be balanced risk to reward with how the stock moves, I would prefer to wait for a break of 144.49 before seeing if that all-time high can continue. And again, to go back on the daily chart, I don't hate it if it just kind of floats around here a little bit. Let those AMAs catch up for trying to get that break. These kinds of moves, so when you have a momentum stock, it shoots up like this. It kind of burns out. It comes back down. It retests your EMAs, and it shoots back up again, causes like a little U. Those are the ones you want to get back in and try to push for that upside break, because typically when you get that upside break, you get a pretty dramatic move there. So anytime, you could look at, and this is why I like the SAR indicator as well. It works on the parabolic nature of stocks. So anytime you see kind of like a U-ish kind of setup where you break previous highs, you tend to get a follow through. You can look at back here, which it doesn't look exactly the same, obviously, but you look here on August 5th, where we left that high before rejecting lower when that high broke. So I'll mark it out so you can see here in real time, 85.20. When that high on OKLO broke in August, you had a nice candle here on good volume, right? Higher than average volume from the past. You look down here. Had a day or two just kind of sitting there seeing what it was going to do. More volume came in, and then a nice pump here to kind of, again, give the same repeating pattern. So these are how you would trade momentum stocks. So for me personally, that's kind of what I would look at for OKLO for the day-to-day and near term. What do you think, Eddie? I think there's opportunity, but you don't want to front run the opportunity is what I'm trying to get at. Open breaking below 9 for now, currently trading at 885. How's Path doing? Path at around, gnarly. Path at around $15. Let's check on PayPal, because we talked about PayPal as well. PayPal tapping the downtrend. Look at this, to the penny. Tap that first downtrend. 75.07, here it is on the daily chart here. Tapped it, wicked it, rejected. To the penny. Of course, it looks a little different here on the daily, but that's what I said. So again, to reiterate what I want to see here for PayPal, shoot it up here, let it come down, so let it reject, get back under the 200 MA, and then chill out, look for an entry around this like low 71 area, assuming bulls are holding it together to get a nice substantiated rally through that downtrend and break and go. Eddie says, cool, thanks. Gonna full port right now. God bless, Ron. Now, I do want to look at another meme name, which now it's sort of invalidated, at least short term here. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Better. Someone brought up Better on the program because the same guy who pumped Open, whatever his name is online, he was pumping Better, and he's been pumping Better, and I hate it from a risk to reward standpoint. But, you know, after yesterday's video and after yesterday's conversation on dumb money and whatnot, this is something where I'm at least considering a stab with some light size, as long as we're continuing to make higher lows here on the daily chart. Now, it looks a little scary here, but you could also argue this is a period of consolidation before pushing higher. $60.01 is that POC key trigger here above that, which you can see we never got a close above that level here, obviously with the exception of these two candles here. It has a hard time closing above that POC. So this is what I'm watching. This is not a name I'm going to rush into. To be clear, even though it's trading at around $55 right now, it's only an $850 million market cap company. So it's not that it's like super small. But why? The only other reason I feel a little bit better about talking about Better is because I've personally used their product. They don't have a bad product. I bought my first house using Better mortgage products, and it's not awful. However, that doesn't mean the stock is good. The stock is not good when it did a reverse split 1 for 50. So these shares are still arguably very, very, very cheap when you look at that, and when you're looking at the evaluation of its current market cap. But again, that's all, you know, not much to worry about if you're looking for a momentum trade, right? You just need the number to increase. So this is something I'm going to keep on watching. I'll bring it up to you guys if we see an opportunity, but I would not be early on this name. I would take my time on the daily chart here, as it could definitely get much weaker in the near term. Let's pop back to the market, see if anything has changed now that it's over 9:45. Nope. Looking like we're going to have one of those days so far. Q's very sideways. SPY technically made a new all-time high. Did not break above that pre-market high, however. And IWM got a nice little push. So IWM is looking better. It's over that 247.18 area. So this is looking a lot better. But now the Qs aren't really showing enough strength. And SPY is almost near the lows on the day. This is a very tight range for the market today, so I would, again, it looks choppy. I'd be careful. And whenever I say be careful, it's typically because of what the overall market is looking like at that point in time. NVIDIA has a nice push here, which is shocking to see with SPY down where it is. So we'll see if NVIDIA marks back to 190. Microsoft seeing a little bit of weakness here. Apple having a hard time over that first flat top key level. Amazon back sub 221. You guys know that pushes me bearish on Amazon. Meta sub 412 here. The key level to watch on Meta, which I really should put a line here, 708.02. That is the top of the gap from the ER, so keep an eye on that. Google resting around 8 EMA on the daily chart. Kind of pump and dump on the day back to the open price. Tesla hasn't really gone much of anywhere. Dropped, gap down on the open, rallied back up, and kind of sitting here around 450. It's looking like without the news, we're going to see a kind of a muted day on the market. Basically a double bottom here on the SPY. What's our IV looking like today? IV is dramatically lower today. So this would support the narrative of a potential choppy day on the market. We're looking at our 0 DTE IV right now, currently sitting between 11 and 12%. Average IV for the last rolling 52 weeks is 16%, and our IV percentile currently is 43%. So taking all that into consideration, this spells typically for a choppier day on the market. As we break lows on SPY right now, let's look at our sectors. I have a feeling, like I said, we see a lot of mixed bags. I'm also looking again at my personal portfolio where, like, I've got a few names right now that are up intraday today, 8, 9, 10%, and I've got other names that are down like 4, 5, So now that breadth, that spread between my own personal portfolio has widened, right? We're seeing some of them get more bullish and some get more bearish, which definitely at least tells me that the market is a little shaky today. XLU bullish into the open, up 0.52%. Energy, flip side of that, down 0.44%. And consumer staples grinding lower as well. So our defensive sector is even a mixed bag today, which is interesting to see, because not that they always move together, but especially your energy and utilities, at least as of late, have been moving together pretty simultaneously. Conversely to that information, we typically see the XLK do the inverse of our defensive sector. And it's kind of hard to say what that is, because the defensive sector isn't necessarily agreeing with itself. And at that point in time, the XLK right now is up 0.5%, which is pretty solid. It's not bad. This price action isn't too promising, though. Real estate right now, down 0.25%. Nothing major there. Materials, nothing major. Industrials, excuse me, nothing major there. Healthcare looking a little funky, right? A little bit of a drop there, a little bit of a catch. A little funky there. Financials looking okay. Nice push off the open. Kind of left like a triple top here intraday. Back testing the 50 MA, so we'll see if the XLF can turn it around here. Consumer discretionary, again, your Tesla, your Amazon mainly, pushing down. So this is actually more than likely heavier from other things in this specific index, or this ETF, whatever you want to call it, sector. Other things carrying it down, because Tesla and Amazon aren't really down that bad. So if Amazon and if Tesla do see some continued downside, XLY could see a lot more weakness here. And XLC had a little bit of a push, came back down. So even the sectors are supporting the thesis here of a very mixed bag kind of market today. So if I was going to day trade today, it would definitely be more of like a stock picker-esque day. Look at our indexes right now. We're not really going much of anywhere on all of them. I know SPY just broke low a day, but again, to put that in perspective, this is a 70-cent range, 80-cent range on the day so far. And remind you, now and at the end of the day is where the most volume is traded, right? So the fact that we're in this tight of a range, where theoretically the highest volume of the day should be, tells me to definitely be a little bit more risk off on the day. Toby says, Snap is really promising. I'm accumulating, and we'll take a peek at Snap. Now, the only thing I do like about Snap is the fact that I think they're going to bring a better product than Meta. And when I say that, I'm specifically referencing their glasses, right? I think they're called spectacles, right? Interesting. I cut out my position on Snap. I had a very short-term position, so I got out of it. I don't have exposure to Snap right now. I've got mixed feelings on this for multiple reasons. There's no denying we're seeing a ton of volume coming through, crazy volume coming through. Actually, let's zoom out even more. Yeah, highest all-time volume was down here in the month of September. I knew it was recent, at $6. Or the low was $6.90, the high was $9.28. So you are in that range, to Toby's credit, because he's saying he's accumulating. If you are going to accumulate shares of Snap, you're at least in the range of where the highest volume in the history of this stock was, which is typically a safer bet if you're someone accumulating equity. It's not clean, and it's not out of the woods yet. When I took a stab on this, I took a light stab. Look at how the volume is really popping here. There's a big move here. We're getting more erratic. I actually want to check out how's the IV percentile. I know you guys can't see this on your screen. The IV percentile is 93%. So in the last rolling 52 weeks, IV was only lower 7% of the time. So that's saying that options are pricing at a very big move, one way or the other, which is concerning. Now let me catch myself here. IV is the options chain is pricing in a move one way or the other. At least relevant to its recent time and its last 52 weeks performance in terms of volatility. So let me correct myself there a bit, because this volume more than likely helps support the thesis of increased volatility, obviously, and you're seeing the price action here is the ranges are way wider than they have been in the past, right? You're currently in between this earnings gap here, which isn't bad, but it's not great either. If I was a bull, I could play the long north of the earnings gap and take a chance. But even there, if you did that and you had to stop, you're stopped out here and it pushed back up. I don't like that we made a lower high here. Arguably, you made a higher low, right? If you're looking down here and you're looking here. So there's a point here where you could probably draw. Let me get rid of this because it's bothering me. and I'm going to just draw quick and dirty lines here. Some level of downtrend, some level of an uptrend, and you're getting some level of a pennant forming, right? Price action is going to consolidate within here before getting a break one way or the other. I don't like those risks typically unless there's something else going on. Does Snapchat possibly acquire TikTok or get part of the TikTok deal? Possible. That would definitely be a big boost for the Snapchat stock. Does Snapchat win or start suing Meta for they stole their technology or something? I don't know. I'm just throwing out random ideas here, where there could be some sort of material news that could help Snap quite a bit. I cannot. It's very hard. I think the best move, actually, if you're playing Snapchat, is to wait both ways. And Toby says, Jesus Christ, Adam, stop doing shapes. Well, I wanted to illustrate how you're seeing, like I said, you're seeing lower highs, which is typically a bullish thing, but you're also seeing, you're seeing higher lows and you're seeing lower highs. So you're seeing two things that contradict each other. You could also make the argument here that you could see some level of a sloppy inverse head and shoulders kind of working out here, where you have if we excuse this candle here, which I don't like doing, but I'm just trying to give you an idea of price action movement because volatility is a little higher, so we can make some exceptions. You get some level of consolidation here, a sweep lower, and then some level of consolidation here again. I'll tell you this, if I was to pick a direction, I would pick bullish on Snapchat. But I'm not, I would do that with like 60% confidence, and I put my money where my mouth is, and my mouth is nowhere near this. I personally wouldn't take a position on Snap. It's not good risk to reward here for me, unless I'm a long-term investor and I really think Snap is worth $80 or whatever, right? Just comparing like their key product, which is the social media app. I don't think they do a fantastic job of monetizing it. I don't think they do a fantastic job of, I almost want to say, staying relevant versus their peers, versus a Twitter, a Facebook even, which that has gone by the wayside, but it's typically, at least for older people, Instagram, YouTube, all these other social media platforms are way more relevant. People are sharing way more things from these social media platforms. Think of the last time someone shared a Snap story or something. Like, yeah, you'd send snaps to people, which you can do that, but that's about like their only thing, and it's just not. They don't make a ton of they make money. They're not very profitable. They can't stay profitable, and I don't see them innovating to do anything shocking that's very different to the social media landscape. What I will say, definitely not at this price, but I think Snapchat could be a buyout target. Now, currently, what we're trading right now is a $14 billion company. I don't think anyone's buying Snapchat for that much because I don't think it's worth that. But if it gets down to $4, where that evaluation sliced in half at about $7 billion, you might see like a $10 billion buyout by one of the other social media giants. But outside of that, they may not even be interested, and Snapchat may just go bankrupt one day because they're not doing anything. So I guess from a technical basis, I would lean more bullish, but from like just a fundamental and like looking at their business and their business opportunities, I would be bearish on Snapchat, unless one of you guys can educate me in the chat to something I may not know, and I haven't done any DD on this, so they might have released a new product or something. I know they have the Spectacles, which is a cool product, arguably, and even if it's better than Meta, I said this to my best friend the other day. I said, if you had a money tree in your backyard and no one knows about it, no one would steal your money. No one would want to buy your house for $1 million or whatever because no one knows about the money tree. So you could have the best product ever, and if no one knows about it, no one uses it, it doesn't mean anything. And even if the Spectacles are fantastic, if no one uses it, it doesn't mean anything. So a little bit of a nuanced take on Snapchat, but I, again, would be short-term bullish, if anything, if I had to take a stab, mainly because I like the volume here. The weekly looks not terrible. The monthly, if we're looking at monthly equity trading, the risk to reward here is not awful. It's just there's so many better opportunities, to be honest with you guys, in my opinion. So not trying to break your heart, Toby, but there are many better opportunities to trade right now, in my opinion. One of them is UUU, which is up to my first price target here. Yep, we tapped my first price target. I got in on UUU Commons yesterday, looking for a break at this high here. 1890 is my trigger, which we tapped above it on the open here, up about 10%, 11% on the day, which is fantastic. Like I said yesterday, and I made a point of doing this in my own personal portfolio after I had that little tirade about idiots making money and whatnot. There are stocks that are rallying, that have momentum on them, and there are better places to put your money right now where you can have the exposure to some of these names that are getting momentum, clean momentum, in hot sectors. And sometimes things don't make sense, and I have to turn off the logical part of my brain and go, okay, I'll just put less money into it or whatever, and I'll ride the illogical move. And I did that, and it is going to work and will work because that's the kind of environment we're in. Other logical trades will work too, just the illogical ones, the illogical moves, or I call them illogical moves. There's a place for them. And if you can't beat them, join them. That's kind of what it is. Looking back on the market, I'm sure we're not missing too much here. Not really. Tapped the 200 MA. Had a little bit of volatility going on here. Had a nice little rally back to the 672.68 and back down. Guys, I told you I wore the Green Day shirt for a reason. It is a meme. When I wear the Green Day shirt, apparently we got a red day on the market. So we'll see. I had a feeling, right? I was looking at the charts this morning and went, should wear this shirt. Probably going to be a red day. So we'll see. We're not red yet. We haven't closed red yet. But I believe we're going to lean towards a red day today. It would make a lot of sense to not only test this area, the doji area, as I'll call it, from Thursday and Friday when we again smush those candles together. That's around like 669.95, which I'll zoom in here and turn my candle or my lines back on. It would make a lot of sense to back test that. And we're zooming all the way in here on the daily, so we can see very cleanly. Right here, we'll say this will be easier. This range, right, 670.57 to 669.37. That's what I would be looking for today. And look at yesterday. We got into that range. We wicked it and came back up. I would look for today to get in that range and actually close in that range. That would give you a decent red candle, all things considered. That would be down about 0.5% on the SPY, roughly. It's $3 or so. That's what I'm looking for on the day. But we would need some volume. Like, this is a pretty heavy bear move. It may be one of these moves where we just see a trend to the downside where we just go lower slowly, which I hate trend days, both bullish and bearish. But we might just see a slow plodding move, just kind of down to the downside. Ironically, while volatility stays flat. Now we're seeing volatility mostly stay flat. Now we're just broke a new high on the VIX as I'm talking about it at 1637 as the market makes another low. But I'm actually, what I'd forecast for the day is to have a mostly flat VIX. So we might see some expansion, but nothing too crazy, while the market actually retraces down to that range I just outlined there. That would be what I would look for on the day. Toby calling out Strange in the chat saying we need someone like Strange to say something bearish for a sharp reversal. Shots fired. Now, even considering everything I just said, I spoke about how if NVIDIA held this level yesterday, this 186.21, and sustained above it, we'd probably see 190 again. We haven't got there yet. We're a buck short, or I believe the number was 189.99. It was very close to 190. We're a buck short, but that's where I would look on the day for my personal bear trigger. If NVIDIA gets up to that 189.90 area, and if the SPY is still hugging the lows, once we tap that area, that is where I'd actually look to short probably the Qs on the day, because I have a very strong feeling that NVIDIA won't necessarily break that. It will tap it and come back down. Now, we may not get there, but I wouldn't front run a short on NVIDIA. I would prefer to actually short the indexes if we get that tap on NVIDIA. Microsoft grinding lower. Apple's not really going anywhere. Amazon sub 221. Meta near the gap. So watch this very closely. Meta's right near the gap at 708.02. Google sideways. If Tesla rounds off here, so whenever I say something rounds off, think of like a lowercase n. If it rounds off here, you're going to break low a day. You're sweeping liquidity at the highs, especially with this wick and this wick here. There's no follow through. The volume is light, and the volume on the rejections. So we look at this candle here at 9:48. We look at these candles here at 10:02 until 10:04. The rejections are on higher volume. So this would more than likely support a thesis of a downside move on Tesla. In fact, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is on a short on Tesla today. Get some out the money. Maybe the 430s. What are we at? 450. All right, I'm going to add a few. Let's try to shoot for an average of $4. Okay. I'm like I'll get a few more. All right, I'm normal size on the Tesla 430 puts for this week. For $4. It's a little risky because we are at the 200 MA on the chart, but we're rounding out here. We're under the POC. If this breaks, I would expect a sharper decline here, or it'd be worth it to go a little bit out the money like I did to capture some of that IV. So I just added that to the watch list so we can see that, and I'll pull Tesla all the way up so we can watch that closer. Crocs may offer an entry opportunity here today. I'm watching this to add more shares, actually. Watching basically around my original entry was like $77. So keep an eye on Crocs if you like that idea. It's good risk to reward. Let's keep an eye on Tesla here for now. So basically I'm watching for this cluster to break. We were going to probably float around here a little bit before a break to the downside, but this is looking like it's rounding off pretty strong. We're sweet the lows on the day. Not sponsored by Polar, but one day will be. I keep saying that on the stream until one day a Polar executive is watching the Atomcash angle for some reason. He's like, you know what? I like this guy. We're going to give him all of our weird flavors of seltzer. All right, a little green on this Tesla trade. Nothing to write home about yet. Again, I don't anticipate it to drop like a rock yet. I would prefer it actually floats around and stays sub like 449.70. But if we break, like get a 5-minute close essentially under VWAP, you could just melt here. It's a little too sharp of a move, but if it falls that quickly, I'll probably capture even more IV on that. IV on these contracts right now is 66%. So if we could see a nice like 5 or 10% bump on a sharp move, that'd be pretty cool. So I wouldn't be mad at that. It is in a pretty strong downtrend from that wick. So again, anticipating some level of a short-term reversal here unless the market just flips bearish aggressively. SPY has broken the 200 MA on the 1 minute, currently back testing it and not really showing too much faith here at the moment. The Q's a little bit better. Wicked off the 200 MA on 2 candles here and pushing back to the upside, so it's a little bit better there. IWM underneath this level. Let me put it very simple. I wouldn't be a bull on the market today unless IWM is north of 247.18. Like in the overall general market, I wouldn't feel bullish unless we're over this area. Because I think there is a stronger probability of the market going down today than up. So if I am going to take a bull bet on the overall market, I need more things working in my favor than on a normal day, quote unquote, right? Let's check out everything. SPY rejecting the 200 MA on the back test. This is a bad sign here. So if the bears pile in here, we break the low, you're going to lose $1 probably pretty quickly on the SPY. It's not out of the woods yet for the bears. Like they're not in the clear because we could recover it here too. But so far, this is not a good back test here. All right, this Tesla contract's been fluffing around 410, 415. So a few bucks higher than my entry, but nothing crazy or nothing to write home about just yet. This is kind of the move I want, actually. I want it to come up a little bit. I want it to sit, as long as it sit south of like 449.60-ish. Show a little bit of strength, sucker a few more people in, then kaput down to the downside. It's kind of what I want. So we will see if we get what I want here. While we're waiting, SPY is trying to break back over the 200 MA, so that's a good sign if you're a bull. While I'm waiting, the Qs are pushing up. IWM is kind of weak though. IWM is not participating in that rally right now. So we're seeing some of your tech names, it looks like, pushing up to the upside here. Again, keep an eye on NVIDIA. Your sign to short the market on the day, at least in my opinion, will be on the 189.99, basically 190 tap on NVIDIA to look at a short on the overall market. That's where we'll probably see some bearishness come through. Apple grinding a little lower. Amazon getting a little bit of reversal. It is north of 221 right now. So that's a good sign. So you might see some bulls come in here on Amazon. Meta trying to get out here from the downside it's built. Google consolidating very hard here for the last like 10, 15 minutes or so. Open's trying to break over 9. Keep an eye on that. All right, so this is where I'm hoping, this is where I want the bulls to kind of run out of steam in this general area here, reject it, and then really drive price down. So we'll see if there's anything to that. See what else is going on. Pass still continuing to the upside here at 1504. Nothing really like popping off big, at least from like what I watch. Nothing like crazy move. Well, except you. Quad U's having a good day. Grab is not over that trigger point yet. Q's getting a little weak here. Tesla's at the 1 minute SAR. So the 1 minute may reverse here just for a little bit. And again, that's what I wanted to kind of fluff around here just a little bit. But on the 3 and the 5, especially if it just rejects right out of this right away and leaves a nasty wick, that'll be better. But as long as we're just kind of staying in this general area, this will continue to the downside. Just keep an eye on your volume, especially with Tesla. See, it's very condensed here as well. Yeah, I'm definitely going to buy more Crocs today. I'm going to buy more shares of Crocs today. If you don't know why, I made a video on my YouTube channel, and where the stock is positioned right now, it should definitely be a consideration. They actually make good money. they do. They make good money. It may not be attractive and super sexy, both the product and the stock, but typically, especially in market downturns, we see that those roles reverse and the unattractive names get attractive again eventually. Let me see if we got any news coming through, because I know we had a slew of Fed speakers. It's 10:13, so this is starting. We're starting our Fed speaker extravaganza right now. We have Bostic speaking right now. So is Bowman. And then Miriam speaking at 10:30. Fed 1 year, New York Fed 1 year inflation expectations. Blech. That was hard to say for some reason. At 11. We're basically chock full of catalysts for the end of the day. And apparently there's a Tesla event today as well. So I guess I slept on that and I'll keep runners. Is the IV that high? 64. No, it's in line. There's a Tesla event today. Okay, so definitely knowing that, because I did not know that, I want to take profit ideally around 30 to 40% and leave a runner, a few runners. Enough to cover my butt in case something bad happens. But if there is an event today, that will give me more catalyst to come back to basically this 430 area, this 0.786 retracement, 430.43. So that would be about $18 a downside here. Currently, these contracts have a delta of 23 cents. And again, assuming the most conservative basis of zero delta appreciation, these contracts would be up 100%. They would be far more than that, but they would be up 100% from the $4 entry if that move came all the way down to the 0.786. It would be a big move. But let me actually look into that, because no, I don't want to sound unintelligent. Let's see what the Tesla event is. I know they teased something the other day with a picture or whatever. Unless someone, because I know some of you guys really love Tesla, you guys know about it in chat, you can just let me know. Ba, 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 ba. I'm not seeing anything popping out. Unless there's news here. Tesla's crash, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Maybe there's an event today. Maybe there isn't. Either way, we'll shoot for 30, 40%, let the rest ride. That'll be a good plan. Okay, market tried to break the 200 MA, got 1 or 2 minutes over it, shot back down underneath it. That does not inspire confidence. The Qs are flatlining hard, and IWM's grinding downward. More things are pointing bearish than they are bullish. In fact, I'd argue that a lot of the bull sentiment today is kept up by NVIDIA here for your Mag 7 names. Because Apple's going to be more than likely sideways to down. Microsoft had a pretty good day yesterday, all things considered, so it cooling makes some level of sense. I don't necessarily anticipate it having a crazy up or down day, but it kind of just not doing too much would be more or less anticipated. Amazon, again, it had a good daily candle, so you might see some bullishness come out of Amazon today, so this could support the NVIDIA bull thesis today. And Meta is in a dangerous neck of the woods here. Again, under that 70802 area, it's kind of dangerous. And Google consolidated, had a little baby rejection, but not much to really see here, at least at this point in time. As I say that, it got a little green candle, so we'll keep an eye on it. All right, my contract's still around entry. We're sitting on VWAP right now. We basically got exactly what I was looking for. We got a little bit of a reversal here and some period of consolidation, right, for a hard rejection, and now we're down here once again. Now this is the time where if we don't see follow through past the low here, so the low of this candle, which is 447.86, I'll put a line so you guys can see. 447.86. When we tap that, we don't break it, I will close out. So on this move here, we need to break this red line on the chart in order to have a substantiated move back to the downside. 2 minute supports a bear thesis, the 3 minutes ready to go. Got the green star here ready to pop, and the 5 minute leaving some wicks behind, rejecting both the POC and the 200 MA underneath your short-term EMAs as well, which never really went bullish on trend. And you have this green star moving up to the upside on the 5 minute here. So everything points to, if this level breaks, you will get a bear move on Tesla. But if it does not break, then if we tap it and there's nothing, either put a tight stop loss on or just get out of the way. So it's one or the other. We'll see here very, very soon, though. I don't think we're going to have to wait much, much longer to find out what happens. Not much longer at all. Market is just kind of hugging the 200 MA right now. This is going to be a boring day. Trade individual names today, ladies and germs, if you're watching. If you're trading the indexes, you're probably going to be a bored individual. Like I said, the market is leaning bearish in general. And I do believe, again, to reiterate, that we will get back to this range in here, and more than likely close in here by the end of the day. But things can change. We have a lot of news catalysts today, so that could affect, obviously, which way we push. Tesla just floating around my average. Those contracts are still sitting about $4. We're underneath all EMAs, MAs, VWAP, everything. So again, a tiny bit of volume here. If we can't break this with some volume, it will be a walk. If we do break this with volume, then we will enjoy the glories of our riches, and the lowercase n shape will come to fruition. We'll more than likely test the lows and probably break the lows with some momentum here. But this is the thing that makes it all, this red line. No red line break, no trade, no money. That's all you got to watch for. So again, overall, good risk to reward while we're waiting here. Basically flat on my entry. Oh, I hate when days are like this because nothing exciting is happening. Let's go back and look at some other names real quick, or other recent names I looked at. We looked at Snapchat. We talked about why I don't like it for the most part. We looked at OKLO. Good sign not to day trade to the upside here. Had a little bit of a double bottomy kind of look here before a decent rejection down to the lows. Let's see. If you are long OKLO, you want to see this 50 MA stay basically the low a day defended here. If you break low a day, you're more than likely dropping to 133-ish. And if that goes, you can come all the way down to like 126. So OK low actually might be a better short if the low a day breaks, funnily enough. Better. Yeah, we talked about that. I'm watching this. If we break over this $60.11, I'll probably buy some shares. I don't even think they have options, right? No, they do. Well, I'm not touching them. Yep, there's UUU tapped my first price target here. Rejection, back to POC. Not much to talk about. Some quantum names got a little buzz yesterday off of people over the weekend showing pictures of home offices that were just like garages and thinking that would crush the stocks. Well, you know, they went down and then they've rallied up ever since. So, I don't have a lot of faith in quantum computing, especially at its current thing, or its current form. But like we talked about yesterday with dumb money and how momentum trading is, ride the momentum right now. That's what I would say. There's always more shorts to squeeze. So I will continue and I will now participate in the squeezing of shorts. Path rejected its weekly high, or I believe that was last week, right? Last week's high and current week high, made a new high technically. Watch that level. That level breaks, you're more than likely marking up to 1593 fairly quickly. Take a peek at PayPal. PayPal is through the downtrend for now. So if we close above this, keep a tight eye on us. Big move in the last 2 days. You'll have some gaps behind here, obviously. A big move in the last 2 days. Keep a tight eye on PayPal. Actually, look at this. Rejected. What's that high? Am I right? Am I on the money here? High of the day was 75.68. Look at that. 75.69 was the LOI I had. Off by a penny. Man, I'm pretty good at this. I'm not great. I was off by a penny, so I could do way better, but it's pretty solid. One name I want you guys to keep on watch here is Cent. Take a peek at if you're a fundamental trader especially, take a peek at Cent. Now it's not an entry now. It's a clean bear trend. This was where I was contemplating an entry if it held up this like low 32 area. And as you can see here, we met some level of a little bit of bumping up here, right? Some price action, some bulls trying to push it up. Failed. Keep an eye on the GP down here. 27.74 to 25.92. This is shaping up to be a really solid buy on the long term. Look at the monthly chart. You got the 200 MA getting into that GP as well. So by the time it gets down there, whether it's 1 or 2 months away, however long it may take, getting in that GP with that 200 MA there is going to be a strong buy on my side of things. I'll probably bring it up to you guys again. And you can even see in this monthly GP or this from this fib expansion, how key this area was back here in 2019 all the way to 2020 before getting a hard rally, basically doubling in price. So this is what I'm personally looking for on this name. It may take a little while, but I at least want to talk about it now so you guys can put it on your watch list. Maybe set an alert. I personally set an alert at 28.38, so a little bit before the GP tap. That way I can bring it back on my radar, keep a tight eye on it. Keep an eye on this name. Again, it is bearish right now. It's bearish on the weekly. It's bearish on the daily. It's bearish on the monthly. But that could offer like a sharp V bottom kind of look, especially if it just melts down this next week or two and hits in this zone very quickly. You could have a nice V bottom and ride some actually, in my opinion, undervalued shares on this name, on Cent. So keep a tight eye on Cent. All right, my Tesla puts are up. Didn't even have to watch it. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Broke the red line. Here we go. All right, we'll trim some out for 10%. Why not? Just to say I did. Take $40 a contract. Nothing crazy. Like I said, I want to see follow through all the way down here. We got high volume break of that key level, which is what I wanted to see. That's exactly what I wanted to see. So now we need some follow through. We have some good volume here. So we need to see that volume follow through. And so with this break, that forces the 2-minute bearish in both trend and from a technical standpoint. That forces the 3-minute bearish in both trend and from a technical standpoint. And this also forces the 5-minute bearish in both trend and from a technical standpoint. We just broke the 5-minute green star as well, so that offers some more downside potential to Tesla. You could catch a little bounce here on the bottom of this candle here, which is 446.31. The bottom of this 5-minute candle here, because we wicked down, and that's where we got a back test and pushed up on the 5-minute. So let's watch 446.31. And I'll make this yellow so I remember to remove it because it's just an intraday level. So this is the next level we're looking to break before getting a continuation here. Now, it wouldn't be the worst thing, as I tell you guys before, when you break a key level, to back test it and reject it. Because that shows like, oh no, we broke this key level. Hurry, let's get it back. And when the bulls try to get it back and they can't. So that's also good. So it's not bad that you get a green candle or two here. If you come up and you tap it and they leave a wick or there's just no volume and come back down, that's even more bearish. So it's even better in this scenario because I'm obviously positioned as a bear. SPY making a new low a day, rejecting the 200 MA, grinding lower. You now have gone officially green to red on the day. The Green Day shirt has not been defeated just yet. Now, we haven't closed red, right? But anytime I've worn the Green Day shirt to a stream, it has been a red day on the market. So we will see if the trend can hold, if the prophecy continues to be fulfilled. Microsoft, ironically, getting a little bit of a push here. I would expect a rejection here at the 200 MA from an intraday basis, just looking how everything's looking right now. Nvidia got a little weak here, kind of another looking like a little rounding off kind of thing here. I don't think it's going to dump yet. I think it wants to go up to that low 190, 189 area before dumping, but if things are more bearish than bullish, just overall, if the sentiment shifts aggressively bearish, which it kind of is a little bit, we might not even get that back test. That back test may just be completely gone and we're just shooting down. There we go. Boom. Look at this in real time. Back tested the level. Is that to the penny? No. It's like 7 cents off that time. Wicked it on the 1 minute, rejected it, back down to, and this one was almost to the penny, 446.31. Low of the current candle that's forming is 446.30. So we tapped it, rejected, came back down, and note the volume that we're getting in this range. So as a bear, I need to see this break to the downside. If it does, I will get continued selling. Also as a bear, if we wick this, reject, and go higher, so notice the volume in this range here. So this is a key area for both the bulls and the bears. If we get volume push higher and break over the red, I want to get out. So that's how we're playing this now. Either we break this yellow and we go down, or if we break the red, and it may reverse to the upside. But with how this volume's coming through and with what these candles look like, the higher probability across multiple time frames is that we break under this yellow level and shift to the downside even more so. Sharp drop here on SPY. Q's sharp drop there. IWM grinding down. VIX had a little bit of a sharp climb here. And again, I don't anticipate VIX to get a strong expansion today. Kind of mostly flat, slightly up. But you're over the 1637, watch 1653. VVIX got a little pop there as well. UVXY sub 1050. Okay, Tesla may try to invalidate here. So we'll see if it breaks it. Did not close above it. As long as we're not closing above this level, it's still valid as a short. If we close above this level, then I want out. And you can see right now those contracts are still worth $4.30. So either way, with a $4 entry, I'm still leaving with profit. We're just not lying to ourselves about the overall goal here of this trade. Tom says in the chat, what happens when you wear your favorite Taylor Swift shirt? I don't know. I've got a few. We should try it out. Maybe we'll try it out. We'll see how the market reacts to T-Swift. I don't know if the market's a Swiftie. Well, I guess we'll have to find out. It's very iffy here for Tesla, I'll be honest. It's iffy. I'm going to slap a stop loss on because this could go either way here, and I don't want to get wicked out. I'm not going to put a stop loss on. All right, let me say it like this. If you're in a smaller account, use a stop loss at break even. It might wick you out of your position, though, which is why I don't personally want to do it. But if you're in a much smaller account, you're not going to regret, obviously, you made money. A stop loss at break even is not a bad idea. And again, if we close over 44786, I want to close out of this trade. Volume is dropping as we're farting around this level here, right? As we're testing this level, the volume is decreasing which supports a thesis that the bulls don't have enough juice to go higher. Which more than likely means that we're going to drive to the downside. Yeah, SPY's just more than likely going to have a trend day down. And again, we have a lot of Fed speakers today. The trend can reverse at any point. So kind of like be on your toes about that. Especially if you're a day trader. Things can whip around real quick. Hatcher says, where did the 44630 level come from? Can't see it. It's the low. 44630 31 is the low of the 5-second 5-minute candle. Right there. 5-minute. Right there. 44631. 940, low of the 5-minute. And again, that's not rocket science. It's nothing crazy. But you could see how price reacted at that level, right? Okay, we've wicked above it now 1, 2, 3 times. We're going to close above it. Got 10 seconds left on this 1-minute candle. We'll see. It's going to be close. What a battle. Like if you're watching this on your own charts in real time, it is a battle. All right, we technically closed above it. So now I'm going to put a stop loss at break even now because there's a chance that we reverse here. But that way I'm not completely out of the position. But like I said, if we break this level, we'll more than likely reverse to the upside here, which we're seeing, and I'm stopped out. Hey, sometimes it's how it happens, right? But we didn't lie to ourselves. That was still a solid trade, even though it was only 10%. That's why I trimmed some. Still a solid trade. Now, if it gets back under this, I might just jump right back in. Especially if we leave a wick like this. So I might just jump right back in. Okay. I'm gonna jump right back in. All right, I'm back. I'm gonna add a few more. I'm slowly adding a few, so you guys are aware. All right, I'm back in with a 420 average. So I got some at 405, and then I got a few more around 420 and 425. So my cost is actually up from my $4 entry, but this is a pretty decent reversal here. And we're back under my original, like again, the level I'm watching here to break to the downside. So more than likely we should be able to double dip this. Now, you'd understand, or if you don't understand, let me explain why I got stopped down, why I put that stop there, because closing above this level does favor the bulls. So we did close above it, and I warned that there could be a chance of me getting wicked out of my position, which I did, unfortunately. This is where a wick hit my stop loss. I was stopped out, and now, unfortunately, I had to buy back at a higher price, but doesn't mean the trade is completely invalidated. Especially if it's in like a 1 minute, like it's a quick move, it's a 1 minute, it's a 2 minute time period. That doesn't necessarily invalidate the trade. That's also can just be market maker sweep and liquidity. And I got swept, right? So get back in as long as the trade's valid. In this case, I overpaid from my original position, but that doesn't mean I still can't make money, right? SPY getting a little bit of a bounce here. Q's moving up a little bit. And IWM trying to move up a little bit as well. All right, I'm going to hop off of here in just a little bit, but I do want to see this Tesla play come to at least one trim. I want to see if this yellow level breaks. And we also have this green star here on the 1 minute, so hopefully that adds a little bit of volatility to break through that level and sweep the lows, because that's really what I'm playing for here. I'm looking for Tesla to sweep the lows. So looking for like $5 move, pretty sharp move on Tesla here. That's ultimately what I want. Here we go. We're at the SAR. Breaking the SAR. Wicked the SAR, I should say. So now you're double bottoming this range. There we go. Here we're at the lower yellow level. We're breaking beneath it. We're testing beneath it, I guess I should say. So now we have to see some follow through. There's a little follow through. I'm going to trim some just to de-risk. Because again, we saw how important this level is. It's only a 7% gain, but still, take some off. Now we need to see some follow through. We could back test, again, back test and reject, or we could melt. If we don't see follow through, then I'm going to basically use the AEMA as my stop loss here. And just cut out if the AEMA breaks. And then I'm going to be done with Tesla. So here's your back test. Tapping the yellow line here. Basically to the penny. So now let's see if the bears sink it back down. Leaving a wick here on the 1 minute would be preferred. Not looking like it. Let's see. Got 20 more seconds. You can see the volume. And again, it's 10:36. There's a lot of volume here for the time of day. You're seeing in real time how important these levels are. I'm going to add a stop loss. I was waiting to see what those contracts would be roughly on the AEMA tap. And they're around like 430. So with a 420 average, that still gives me like a 10-cent buffer. So I could still rock these with a stop loss here and see if we can actually break and sustain under. If not, then I'll just get stopped out. So the opportunity is still really solid. The risk reward's really solid. And now I've got enough buffer there where I'm not going to lose money on the trade. So I'm keeping my risk super, super, super tight. Ooh. SPY is coming to my zone that I said at the beginning of the day. And I guess I should have got SPY puts, but I didn't. But that's kind of, this is where I think we're going to close in the day. Close in this range. We will see, but that's where I'm prophesizing through my crystal ball. Those contracts are sitting around 440. So we got a little 20-cent buffer or so. Looking like the bulls are going to try to hold it. So make sure you have that stop loss on. Because there's a good chance we get stopped out. Based on how these candles are. The volume's a little iffy. Okay, I'd be happy to be wrong about getting stopped out. Please prove me right overall and just melt this down. I'm cool with that. We could do that, Tesla. I'm cool with being right. I like being right. Yeah, this 5 minutes set to sweep the lows. Got $4 more here. If this can get some more volume and follow through. If the bulls don't do this again like they did at 10:37, this has the ability to like break down pretty solid. And right on my yellow line here. We're staying below that AEMA, which is really good to see. So we've wicked it a few times, now rejecting it. Those contracts are actually appreciating in value, even though we're not driving much lower. They're actually holding their value pretty solid. It's a good thing to see. You're getting tight here. Real tight. Real tight here on Tesla. Market's still shifting, very bearish. The Q's moving to the downside here as well. IWM moving to the downside. Trend is very bearish on the day overall. The Green Day shirt strikes again. Hatchet says it's also on the daily uptrend golden pocket right now. Well, good. Golden pocket it to the downside. Melt down. And that line is very obnoxious on my daily chart. Oof. I'll keep it here. Alright guys, this might take a little while, and I'm hungry. So set a stop loss again, 420, which I might get stopped right now as I'm leaving you guys. I guess we'll see. Looking at the market for the rest of the day, like I said before, I anticipate SPY to close somewhere in this range on the day, like close in here. If we see we wicket and rally out, again, be very aware of what's going on with the news today, especially with a lot of Fed speakers speaking. That could change the complete trend of the day as a whole, if anyone says anything of material, right? So be aware of that. Otherwise, I would anticipate us to close in this range today. I would also anticipate mostly flat volatility day. Maybe a tiny bit bullish, but mostly flat volatility as the market actually pulls down. So it's going to be one of these scenarios where the VIX doesn't necessarily match the price action to the SPY 1-to-1. That's kind of what I'm anticipating on the day overall. The Q is more than likely going to follow the trend as our IWM, as all three indexes are basically lined up the same. But the VIX, again, is more or less kind of a moot point. It's not really doing too much here, all things considered. Outside of that, give you an idea of what I'm looking at on NVIDIA, which is looking a little hairy here. Microsoft probably will reject there. Apple, don't trust it until it's over those two lines I gave you guys. Amazon's bullish over 221. That's good. And watch this 70802 level on Meta. And Google's just kind of farting along. So a few things to chew on there. And you guys know what I'm looking at for here on Tesla. Anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it up. My next show will be on Thursday at 9:15, so I appreciate you guys popping by, enjoying the show, and supporting the show. Hopefully you guys learned something, take something away from the show, or maybe made a few shekels. You know, it's always good to make some money. Please trade smart for the rest of the day. Like I said, between today and Thursday, so when I'm doing my show next on Thursday, there's going to be a lot of news. There's going to be a lot of Fed speakers and drama, or nothing. But the threat that it's there should be enough for you to consider to be a little risk averse in that environment. So with that being said, guys, some will say you need an edge to trade. Well, I like to look at things from a different angle, and that's always what you get right here on the Atomcash angle. Have a great rest of your day, guys. And remember, precision beats prediction every damn time. I will see you on Thursday.
The time has passed, and that's a wrap. You're on with